So we have another building collapse to report to you. In this case here, this is a building garage that was under construction for the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, also known as CHOP.
Continuing right now in Philadelphia's Grays Ferry neighborhood after this parking garage partially collapsed.
They had just capped off the stairwell with a precast concrete slab segment for the roof when it collapsed all the way down the staircase, collapsing 7 floors worth of stairways. That claimed 3 souls from the local 401 ironworkers union. You could see at the bottom of the stairwells where everything collapsed, all of the debris is piled up, so it forced the walls outward at the bottom, and you could see the stress fractures there. That's why they had to demolish it. In the bottom of that pile is where they found the remaining 2 construction workers. Witness video shows the stairwell, and there's the pile of debris at the bottom, and there they are wheeling somebody away to the hospital. Here's the collapse captured by a doorbell camera, and then I'll slow it down for you, and then we'll analyze it. And now here I've slowed it down for you so you can see it in slow motion, what was happening there during this collapse. And now here is a zoomed in shot of it so you can see it even though it's a little blurry. So now we will analyze this and determine what happened. So the contractors will normally take the precast concrete roof segments like you see here in this picture, and they'll lower it into place with a crane, usually on little ledges that stick out of the concrete walls. The lead contractor on the CHOP parking garage here was HSC Construction, and they have many years of experience in doing all sorts of buildings for the healthcare and pharmaceutical industry, science, corporate, all of that. But they aren't the ones that were building the garage. They actually hire a subcontractor, somebody whose expertise is to do that, and that's this company, Prefab Services, who has, of course, just many, many years of successful prefab garage builds. They've, as far as we know, they have not had a single problem like this in the past. And then as they're building the garage and installing these segments, as you see here, like with this crane, that's all supposed to be inspected by a third-party special inspection company here called GAI Consultant. So it's their job to do this right here, construction, engineering, and inspection. So they're supposed to be there as they're laying all of these panels to make sure that everything is okay. As I've zoomed in on it a little bit, and I want to point something out to you here. So number one, pay attention to the crane. The crane is way over here, and you can see the line is hanging. So the crane is not anywhere near here, so it's not like we can say, well, the crane dropped it. So watch the crane's movement real carefully. You see how he's going back and to the left, right at the same time that the piece is falling here from the roof. So watch this bright window right here. And let me just kind of give you the lay of the land where that is. So they're looking at this opening right up here on the top, this upper floor opening. This is the top floor. And it was viewed from way back 45 degrees and several blocks away at an angle. So the shadow I'm going to show you was on the back side of this wall right here. See? And here's a sort of an elevated view from Chopper 3 from CBS Philadelphia. And you see this right here? I believe that this is the ledge that they had the roof panel sitting on right here. And there would be another ledge on this side here. So the crane's job is to lower it so that it spans across the ledges here on either side of these spandrels. They usually call these prefab walls like a spandrel, but the panel was supposed to hang right on those ledges, and then it fell down. So let's go take a look at it. All right. So now just keep your eye on that upper level opening that I just pointed out to you and watch. You can see the shadow of the part as it falls. Do you see it? I'm going back and forward with it. See? Take it all the way down to the bottom. There's how it fell. And then it comes all the way back up. Now watch. You'll see that you can just see a little bit of the shadow of it right before it falls. And I'm going to zoom in even closer, and it's going to get really, really blurry and blocky and all that, but it's important to see. Again, there's the crane's line, and watch the crane and its movement. See how it's away from the building. It's nowhere near the building. So it looks like it's been 1 or 2 minutes since the crane has lowered the panel onto the roof over here, and I believe it was a section right here on the very end of the top of this little tower section. And again, you see that weird shaped black shadow right there where I'm circling with the cursor. Pay close attention to that shadow and what it does right here. So you're going to see it. It's going to see it's changing now. And there's the piece. It's dropping down. Boom. See? So that piece was providing a shadow from the sunlight coming at this angle. You see that? And so now that the piece is falling, there's no more shadow on that wall. See, it's gone now. It's taking everything down with it. So it took all of the staircases down with it, all the way down to the bottom. And here I just made a bigger zoom in here for you so you can see wherever they're laying any type of ceiling or floor panels, they rest on these ledges. There's one there, and you can see all the way going down the entire stair shaft here, down the entire staircase system. You can see that's where the floors rested on them. You can see right there, just resting right there. And even these here where the cars are parking, all of these are going to be laid as panels by the crane, and these are a lot different. These are going to be probably double T. They're upside down double T type panels, whereas this one here for the roof section over the elevator shaft is probably just going to be a smaller piece, kind of similar to these two pieces you see on the ground. I don't see any other panels here or what they were going to put next, but certainly whatever they put here didn't stay. It just simply didn't hold. Now, and then here's another view. And of course, the fire department was on hand to spray everything down, keep all the dust. And then you can see here they had to just take down the whole rest of the building. Okay, so here's a rendering here of the Chop Grays Ferry garage there in Philadelphia. And this is from 2025. And I guess they basically broke ground last year on it. So this is the part of the tower part with the staircase and the elevators. Then this is the part that collapsed. So apparently it looked like there was a roof panel, a prefab concrete roof panel right along the top of the building here. And it crashed down on each one of these staircases as it went down and pancaked straight down to the bottom. Now, normally, these buildings are built strong enough to withstand something like this, but keep in mind, when you have a big, heavy concrete panel and it drops, it's not a static load anymore. It's a dynamic load that has maybe 50x of the actual load that you would normally see, and that's probably going to be enough to overcome certainly a staircase for sure. But you can see that, for the most part, the walls held up. But anyway, I just wanted to point out to you that this garage had some opposition going up from a lot of the locals that didn't want to see something quite so industrial being built. They wanted to park there. This was overflow for the children's hospital, for like the employees. They were arguing they could be a little more environmentally friendly, and they could have just had people take public transportation or bicycles to work instead of building this, what they think is a monstrosity. Although I will say, as far as parking garages go, it looks a little more modern than your typical garage. And I like the fact that they added these kind of festive colors, which is sort of what you're starting to see in Miami, although Miami has done it better. For example, here's the Miami Children's Hospital. So this was built by another contractor, and you can see they kind of make them look a little bit better. You know, you're putting some lipstick on a pig. But if you really want to see perfection, this is the one I like, at the Miami Museum parking garage. And so, you know, I studied architecture in high school, and I just go gaga over something like this. This is how you hide a garage and make it not look like a garage. See, look, you can see a car parked in there. They use materials that reflect light on the outside of the building, but inside you could see straight through it. And so you can see this doesn't even really look like a parking garage, and at night it looks really cool then. So this is sort of the type of thing that they're trying to do with parking garages now, is a paradigm shift in the way the garages look and in the way people engage with the garages in ways that you would have never imagined before, like this. So they're just completely breaking the mold with these paradigm shifts here. And so this probably would have looked a lot better for this garage. And I think that the same people fighting this garage were complaining about the public storage buildings going up too. But if you look at this public storage building that was built in Coconut Creek, not far from my house, you can see this, I think, is the best looking public storage building I've ever seen. They actually designed and built it to make it look like a residential apartment. It doesn't even look like a storage unit. I mean, inside it still looks butt ugly like all the other ones, but at least from the outside, you can never even tell. So now that it's all cleared out and we have a great view inside, I want to zoom in and I want to show you something here that's going on. So when they are building these prefab buildings like this, the crane will take that slab, like I showed you before in that photograph, and it will lower the slab into place slowly like this onto these ledges that are built onto the walls like this. So it sits down right on top. Now you're not supposed to put it way off to the side like this. And sometimes when they come down, they can snag on something sticking out of the wall like right here. And then it might go in at a slight angle and then you could throw your measurements off there too. So that could also be wrong. So they want to avoid that. They want to place it down just like this. And when they do that, they have to have a 3-inch overlap. That's the requirement. And so the contractor is supposed to have a special inspector on site whose job it is to make sure that before the crane lets this thing sit down, that they pull out their tape measure and they see 3-inch overlap. If you have it way off to the side like this, you don't have enough support. And then the friction could actually cause it to maybe walk a little bit. And it could be just enough that it loses its grip there. And it's that serious that this has to be done. So now that they've demoed this entire front fascia of this wall and it's now completely down and we can see the inside is all exposed, there you can see is your ledge where the panel was originally sitting. It was going right across this way. See? There's the ledge. And so it somehow fell off of this ledge. We know it was sitting there because we saw that this big crane was way off to the other side at the time. So he didn't bump anything. We just know that it must have fallen on its own and it came straight down here. Now you can see all of the other floors here also have those ledges because you can see these other floor panels and segments that have been laid here are resting on those ledges. Yeah. So at least these other ledges here held up. So with parking garages, they typically use these precast wall segments. And here you can see double T's, floor slabs. That's where the cars drive on. And so they're manufactured in these big yards and these gigantic molds like you see here. And then they just pour the concrete in there and it cures for 7 days, gives you 70% of the strength and up to 28 days for full 100% strength. So there's a slab right there for double T, again, being moved. And then they just get transported to the garage where they're built in place there. And there's a final product of a garage. So getting back to the process here, it's very strictly regulated as to how these things are built and tested to real strict regulations and strength of materials. And they measure everything when they're built. They know the mix. I mean, they have this science down like to nothing. It's easy for these guys. So I doubt that the materials failure would be a problem here. And during the mixing of the concrete, they make several cores. They'll take samples, check the temperature, and here they're mixing a bunch of cores up. And they do this on every sample. And those cores get taken and they get tested on these. I don't know if this is an Instron machine, but typical compression, they'll run them under compression and test them until failure to make sure that if it says 5,000 PSI concrete, it's going to be 5,000 PSI. And then they're lifted out of the molds, as you can see here. And they'll go ahead when they're done with this and put them onto delivery trucks. And they will go ahead and then deliver it to the garage site. So you can see it's a very good, scientific, well-engineered, done a million times over the past several decades, which is why I don't think that there would be a problem with the concrete. But what if there was a problem with it? OSHA is still going to have to consider that case. So OSHA will definitely be looking into this. They're probably going to be taking several core samples too, just to verify that the concrete was up to par. But that did get me thinking. It's like, how would this fail if it was indeed a failure of the concrete material itself? What different methods do we have here, potential failure modes, to make this roof segment come falling down to every one of those staircases and bust bust all the way through the floor landings all the way down to the ground? Let's take a look. Now, Bridgehawk shows us how this could fail as a bending failure, like on a bridge corbel, but it's the same type of thing here with the ledges. So you could see if you had some kind of crack or something developing, it would happen. Another material failure here of the concrete is if it just crushes or crumples because they didn't make it with the right PSI. So in other places, place you could have a failure is a shear right here at the interface with the wall or your column, but in this case it was a wall, where you just get a crack along the wall there and it just slices right off. That's called a shearing failure that you see right there. Another failure mode of this garage collapse here could be the breakaway due to horizontal loads. Now, like I mentioned earlier, if they had a mistake and the thing starts shifting sideways, it can create stress there and shear off the tip of that ledge. And remember, you need 3 inches of overlap. So if you remove a little bit of it, you're in trouble. A common mistake we see all of the time, like we saw in the Champlain Towers condo collapse in Miami and my other videos, is if they don't put the reinforcement in the right place. Like here, they don't continue it all the way to the end of the ledge or your corbel, then you can see it's left kind of dangling with no reinforcement and no protection in there. So that becomes a collapse zone and the cracks develop and then off it goes. And then again, there goes your 3-inch ledge protection that you're required to have by code. Yeah, and now keep in mind, when they build a garage and they start laying down all of these double T's, these are the segments. This is what the cars drive on. And the reason why they drive on these is because these double T's are very strong. They're like beams. Yeah, so if you look right here, here's a good example of a double T for you. And so that's why it's so strong for the cars to drive on them with a relatively thin panel thickness. There, you see that? Here's a photo from a previous garage project where you can see going up the stairwell here. These are the stair walls. See, those are those ledges, those big, thick ledges that they're going to be probably resting the stairs or the floor landings on these. So here's another bad situation that can develop. So normally this is what a good situation looks like right here. Your walls are plumb, meaning they're perfectly vertical and everything to the floor. So you have nice 90-degree angles and the slab will lay perfectly level on there. But what if you get a wall that's not plumb? Now, this is exaggerated here, but it really only takes about a ½ inch to throw all of your measurements off, because then you wouldn't have your 3-inch overlap anymore here. And then you could also introduce what we call walking. Sometimes this slab here can just start moving this way a little bit as it's trying to find its own center, or even worse, it could go the other way as well. And so that's why not having your walls plumb is a problem. And so that's why the inspector, the special inspector that we call them at the job site there, it is their job to make sure that the walls are plumb, as well as measure the tape measure test here and inspect all of the metal welds. So some of the panels or some of the slabs may have little plates embedded in them that will mate up to other metal plates that are on the walls, and they have to check those as well for proper mating. So this is what I figured they'll be looking into here the most. Of course, any design error by the engineers, that's something that's always going to be looked at. They'll bring in third-party engineers and they'll review the design and make sure it was correct. And they'll also look into the construction installation errors by the contractors. And you have material deficiencies, which we've sort of covered already. And they'll look at permits and violations, which so far, as far as we know, it was clean. Nothing came up on the city's licensing and inspection website. But here's some things here that have concern for me. So you have this waived or canceled paradox going on right now. It's sort of a controversy. So the public records show that 58 of scheduled inspections between October 2025 and March 2026, more than half were waived or canceled. So why is that? I want to know why. Why would you waive or cancel an important inspection that you know is required? That's kind of like saying, hey, let's go ahead and close the fire door to the stairs. We've never had a problem in 3 years. Should be okay. That's what I call normalization of deviance. When you keep just kind of rubber stamping waivers like that, it just, why not check it? Why not inspect it anyway? And a critical foundation wall and footing inspections were waived 13 times, including the most recent ones from March 16th. Why would you waive something like that? So they're going to look into that, I hope. And then verification of the anchoring connections. So, for all of these precast slabs, like I mentioned earlier, you have metal going against metal plates embedded in the concrete that are supposed to mate to other metal plates, and were they welded properly or whatever they have to do to get these things working. So they're going to look at the welding and the grout. The grout is like the glue that ties all of the slabs together. They're going to look at erector error. They're going to check to see if the inspector was present to verify the placement and anchoring of these roof segments, especially this particular one that happened right As you can see up here in the transparent background image, it was placed right here and fell straight down. So they're going to be looking at that. They're going to look at compliance with this periodic versus continuous stuff. And you're probably going to find some ambiguity into the how people define it, but their building code mandates whether certain tasks require continuous on-site or just periodic special inspections. So OSHA should have a report in about 6 months on this. They don't take as long as the NTSB does. They don't do the exhaustive engineering typically that you see at the NTSB for like plane crashes. So make sure you check out these other 2 engineering disaster videos right over here. If you're new to the channel and you haven't seen them, you're definitely going to want to check those out. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one.